Let's bring in right now filmmaker Alex Holder. He's going to join us in a minute. He's behind the new documentary Unprecedented that's giving us an intimate look at former President Trump and his family in those days right after and the 2020 election and leading up to January 6th. But first, here's another clip from his three-part series.
You! Yeah! Put it the down!
If the kindling is just sitting there and no one throws the match on it, it's just going to sit there. Trump threw the match. So he's responsible. All of the folks around him are responsible because they threw the damn match.
For whatever it's worth, you know, in real time, and Alex Holder joins us now, Alex, you could see in real time Trump inciting the mob and telling them he was going to meet them there. Alex's new three-part series, explores the final months of the Trump presidency. It's called Unprecedented, and it's available to stream now. But Alex, talk to us about perhaps what people haven't seen in all the coverage of January 6th and the days leading up that you were able to really reveal in your work.
Sure. So, I mean, this is a series which is about sort of the dynamic around the family. It's the interactions between the three children and their relationship with their father. And it's also about the sort of the trajectory of how the campaign, the Trump campaign, and their sort of demagoguery, their belligerence led to the events of January the 6th. I mean, January 6th didn't just happen by itself. It happened due to so much of the sort of cruelty, I think, that came out from the campaign, but also obviously the position that the Trump campaign, obviously President Trump himself had with respect to the election being stolen. And so obviously that then led, I mean, at the end of the day, when you tell 75 million people that their vote didn't count, you know, January 6th is the unfortunate and tragic inevitable result.
So in this clip from the documentary, those close to the White House discuss the roller coaster ride of emotions in the West Wing on election night. Take a look.
As the electoral returns started to trickle in, the mood started to change.
The Fox News Decision Desk is calling Arizona for Joe Biden.
This is the first time that a state that Republicans had won in 2016 has flipped to the other side.
Of course, the White House is very upset about this, particularly Fox News called it before CNN.
We were told that you are not allowed to misrepresent the thing until every vote has been counted.
That suddenly shifts the whole feeling of the evening. Particularly in the White House, they're furious. They're watching the TV and they can't believe it. Fox News has decided that Arizona has gone to the other side.
Joe Biden is ticking closer at 218 to 148.
And they know that this is a big deal because if Biden has won Arizona, that meant that there was real danger of losing overall.
Calls were made to the Murdoch family. Messages were sent to Bret Baier, the anchor, as he was live on television, Martha McCallum, the other anchor.
Are you 100% sure of that call and when you made it, and why did you make it?
Absolutely. The president is not going to be able to take over and win enough votes to eliminate that 7-point lead that the former vice president has.
The MAGA bubble was being punctured. People started to get angry.
Some strange things going on.
And they started to float conspiracy theories.
It's all about how they're going to steal the victory from the deplorables.
I'm here to tell you tonight, we believe we're on track to win this election. We're going to have to be patient.
And all the while, Trump is hearing that night from Rudy Giuliani that he should just go out and claim victory.
I don't think they were quite ready to accept what was happening.
You know, Alex, it's so fascinating. I saw more than one or two flags in 2020 that said, and I'll clean it up here, F your feelings, Trump 2020. Like, you snowflakes, Trump's going to win. You just can't handle it. How fascinating that once they figured out they were going to actually lose, they became the snowflakes. And what we heard time and time again after the election was, oh, you know, just give Donald time. He just needs time to come to terms with this fact. And so help us out looking into that White House, because my sources and a lot of other sources inside the White House after the election said he knows he's lost. Joe, he just needs a couple of weeks to get his arms around this. At the same time, he's hearing from Giuliani and all these other people saying, you need to fight this to the bitter end.
So what the series shows, and what I saw as well, having met President Trump and the people around him, is that there's essentially only one thing that matters, and that is Trump, the brand. Trump, the idea, democracy, being the President of the United States, that was sort of secondary. It's all about the name and the brand. And so the idea of associating failure with the name Trump is something that's just not compatible, in his mind. So, of course, it's a complete lie, the idea that the election was stolen. And this is something that President Trump had been talking about back in 2016. But when I saw him in the White House about a month after the election, he became somebody that started to actually believe in his own lie. And that's incredibly dangerous, because you can't have a rational conversation with him anymore. He's not somebody that can be persuaded, and he's still the incumbent President of the United States of America, with all the apparatus, with all the power that means. And to me, I was totally shocked, because the idea that he could actually believe in something as insane as what he was saying at the time is something that is in fact terrifying. And we saw the results of what happened later in January. And obviously, again, when in the series, you see how the three children are all about ensuring that the Trump brand survives. I mean, that's what it is at all costs. It's all about Trump.
And the danger you talk about there is what became of such interest to the January 6th committee, which is why, of course, they wanted to talk to you and look at the film. So in this time you spent with them, two-part question here. First, do you have a sense now, this idea of winning, what's your read on whether he would mount another campaign? And then secondly, as your series has now is aired and it's obviously been talked about now for weeks, have you heard from Trump or his family, and what is their response to what you've showed?
So in terms of whether he's going to run again, I mean, I think that I'll leave it to the audience that watch it to sort of decide whether or not they think he will. My own personal opinion is that Trump doesn't normally do the same thing again. When he fails, he pivots and does something else. Maybe he might do something different this time around, but he does normally sort of move around and pivot. I think he probably will announce he's going to run, but whether or not it actually ends up happening, remains to be seen. And in terms of my interactions with the family, so far there's been quite a deafening silence. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
We'll read into that as we will, I guess.
Indeed.
Unprecedented, the new three-part docu-series on the final months of the Trump administration is available to stream now. Filmmaker Alex Holder, thank you very, very much.